Thank you, God, angels, guides, ancestors, my team, anything that has my best and biggest interest at heart, my highest self. Thank you for speaking through me today and allowing me to be the vessel to co create in this experience with you. And thank you for your words really coming through me to land beautifully in the way that anybody listening to this needs to receive. I've never actually videoed myself doing that prayer, but for some reason it felt like the right way to start this video. And I'm not really sure why. It was just, I was trying to think of like, how do I bring you guys into something that feels very sacred, right? Like, I know it's just me doing an astrology chart for my friend Julia, but I'm such a believer that anytime we're sharing somebody's vulnerable information, it's a sacred container. And because of that, I really want to honor it before I just open it and share it with you all. Now, I'm going to have timestamps here so you can, click to the point of the video that's most interesting for you. But my goal in sharing this with you is that it's not just an interesting thing to listen to, but it's more so something special for you to get out of listening to it. I want you to see if maybe you can see part of yourself in Julia or part of yourself in this reading, and just see if there's any takeaways that maybe are the messages that life is inviting you to receive at this time. If you like astrology content, if you like juicy conversations, deep diving into soul craving type of conversations that really are here to elevate you, then go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it with anybody you think could use this message, and let's get into it.
We're recording.
Yay.
Okay, so I'm really excited to do this with you, and thank you for just being game for recording this. First thing I like to do when I'm reading somebody's chart is I just like to first explain a little bit, even before we get to the chart, I want to talk about your profection year, which is basically saying the theme that it's the theme of your year. It's like, and it's not to do with the calendar year, it's to do with whatever age you are. So, and you were saying that this last year was a little bit like tense, or you've just been going through some stuff the last few months, very intensely with your health and a big move coming up. And so when I was looking at your profection year, I'm like, that totally tracks. So you were in your house, your 10th house, Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, right? A lot of challenges. And you're moving into your 11th house, which to me says that you're moving from this year. And by the way, it's your Jesus year, if you've ever heard of that. Like Jesus year 33 is like this rebirth, this death. It's like this death and rebirth and ego death kind of thing that that it's asking you to experience. It's like it's like reviving of who you really want to be in the world, because I think it has to do with profection year, really, because you went from your 10th house of like career, and really just like career is a very self-focused house, right? Not in a bad way. It's just like, who do we want to be in the world, and how do we want to create success in our life, and how do we want to impact? And so that was a lot of the energy flowing in your year through like currently what you're in. And then you're moving into your 11th house, which is more outward focus. It's like networks, communities, friendships, humanitarian efforts, right? It's going from the I to the we. So in order to get from the I to the we have to shed some things. We have to face things, especially you're coming from the 10th house of Saturn, or Capricorn Saturn, which is all about, it restricts and challenges everything that it touches. And it oftentimes brings up repetitive things that you've experienced before. It's kind of like when they say life is moving in a spiral versus a circle. This, if there's something you haven't fully dealt with, Saturn is going to bring that spiral to what feels like a 360 repetition, but it's really just you're seeing it in a new way. And oftentimes, because you're moving into more of a let's make it about how we want to serve in a bigger way, that's going to cause it to come up abruptly, which is why when you were like, why has this last 6 months been great? I think you said 6 months, right?
No, not even the last 6 months. It's just been like the last like few weeks have just been a little bit challenging. But I'd say within the last 6 months, like you were saying, I've been focusing on like, how do I want to show up with my platform, and like, what do I want to be saying, and what do I want to be focusing on? That's totally been like the first half of this year was totally about that. So
Yeah, so I think sometimes when you're coming to, because your birthday's soon, yours next, in
Couple
October,
months.
November, a
Yeah.
couple months, but it's coming up. So it makes sense that before you would start that next chapter, it's going to clear out things.
Right.
It's going to release, it's going to let go of some things because it does not want you to bring that with you because that's not for you. So that's actually a really good thing, as crazy and scary as it can be. And out of nowhere, it's like, no, we're clearing the path for you. And mind you, this is also happening for you during a collective 9-year. 2025 is a 9-year. So that's about exactly the same thing, death and rebirth and shedding and releasing and letting go. And basically it's a preparation year, getting you ready for, like, slingshotting you forward for what you're about to move into. So I know it's been hectic and scary and stressful and all the things at once, but it's totally on track with the energy of the collective, but also your timeline of your year 33 moving into your next year. So I just want to start there because I want you to know you're not crazy.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Like, especially just like the health stuff I'm dealing with. It's nothing huge, but it's just I'm so used to like feeling this optimal level of health. And then all of a sudden there's like these aches and pains coming and these like stressors and like the physical like manifestations of the stress coming through me and my body. And it's so abnormal for me because I'm someone who's normally so in alignment with like my mindset and my mental health and keeping that all in track. And then it just felt like one decision that I made just kind of like blew up everything. And it's like, oh, okay, this is a lot. So that's what this month has been. This is what August has been for me.
Oh my God. Well, I'm just sending you so much love because it's a lot. But everything you're saying also tracks. I'm probably going to say that a lot because what I love about the chart is it's happening whether we believe it or not. So this is probably going to be just like a remembering or a reminder or a, okay, like I feel seen, like I'm not crazy kind of experience. It's not telling you anything you don't necessarily know. It's just going to be connecting dots.
Yeah.
So I say that because, looking at your sixth house is all about, can you, I don't know if you can see my mouse moving around. Sorry. Well, let me zoom in more than this.
No, that's okay. I don't think I can see the mouse, but that's okay.
Okay. But the sixth house is all about health, wellness, our mental well-being. It's about our daily routines. It's our work. And yours is, Virgo and Libra energies, which are very like, you could say perfectionist, but it's also just like you are a routine girl. Like you got your routines down and your health is important to you. And you really just like, you probably feel very comfortable, like being like a healthy person and having that routine locked in your life. So it makes sense that when all of a sudden that is out of whack, you're like, that doesn't track at all. Like, that's not who I am. Where is this coming from? Like, I'm a very healthy person and I'm also very cognizant of that part of my life. And you've got Jupiter energy in there, which also is the house of, so basically what Jupiter does is it expands anything that it touches. It is good luck. It's optimism. It's bigness. It's fullness. And it's usually that it's like wherever that sits is good luck. So I want you to also keep in mind, like, chances are all of this health stuff is very temporary. It's not really part of your design to experience that. So like the more than a temporary experience of feeling something's going wonky with your health. So first and foremost, like, I just really want to share that. But also keep in mind Jupiter too. It is lucky and it allows things to flow easier, but it also is going to take, it does take consistent action for that to fully expand in its fullness. So it doesn't mean that it's just like you don't have to do anything. It's like, so if there are some challenges in that area, it's still saying it will work with you. Put some energy towards it, like you're doing, right? You're staying on top of it. You were having some health stuff, but you jumped on it quick and you were consistent, and hopefully it's starting to feel better. That's like the Jupiter energy kind of surrounding that house for you. So very cool. I was also, when I was preparing, I was thinking about it because I was looking at your chart and I was like, oh, this is interesting because you also have so much energy. You have a lot of energy in your 10th house, which is career and being seen and stuff. And you also have a couple key placements in there around challenges. So you've got your Saturn in there, and you've got your Lilith in there, and we'll dive into what those mean. But part of the, like the Lilith, for example, where yours is in Capricorn, which, you know, the Lilith is about our like deepest desires. It can be a vulnerable spot. It can be a spot where we feel shameful. And, you know, it's, so there is like a desire. So with yours in Capricorn, there's this desire to be like really seen, or like wanting to just be successful. You know, there's like this desire to be successful, but sometimes we want something so bad that sitting more present for us can be the fear of it, which is fear of failure, fear of, oh my gosh, what if I'm not enough? Or like, I can't, you know, I can never do enough to be enough, you know, that kind of energy. And so I'm bringing that up right now as we're talking about health, because we're a holistic system, right? We've got all these pieces, but we're all of it. And so if there's this big vulnerable area that is sitting in a key house for you, right? We'll talk about it more, of course. There's so much going on with this like big old stellium in your 10th house. But what's important is to know like that wound, or I don't want to say it's a wound. That's not technically the wound, like the Chiron, but it is essentially some kind of a wound. It's a thing to work through. It's a shadow aspect of the self that can impact other areas. And so when I was prepping your chart, I was like, it feels like it's a clearing out everything that's going on with your health. But it also, the question came in for me is like, it felt like a lesson on control, like letting go of control. And sometimes when we're not listening, because if this lesson is, if it's speaking so loudly to you, like through your health, chances are this is not the first time the lesson of control for you has probably come in, of just surrendering and letting go and trusting, you know? And so it made me think, like, right before you get into your next chapter of this, you know, your 34th year, your life and your chart really wants you to get out of your own way, because it's taking you somewhere big. Like your chart is destined for something big in your career. We'll talk about it. But it was like, before you can get there, like you've got to get out of your own way. And so the question that came up for me that I want to ask you is, if you can think on it, before the I don't want to say the sickness happened, right? But like before you started feeling not optimal, what were you doing right before? Like, do you remember what you were thinking, or was there an event that happened? Anything that made you feel like you were out of control, or just like couldn't control the narrative, or you felt helpless?
Yeah, so it happened so shortly before the physical symptoms started showing up, I was making like a big decision on a big move coming up, right? And I feel like sometimes where I trip myself up is I feel like I make up this scenario in my head that when I'm going to make a certain big decision, I'm going to have this certain feeling and feel like way that I feel about it. And because I didn't feel that way that I thought I was going to feel when I was making the decision, it kind of just like, I started playing like a tug game with myself. Like I'm saying yes to this thing, but I'm not feeling like it's a full-hearted yes, because I have to make a decision very quickly about this thing. And for me, like quick decisions has never been a good thing for me, because I'm someone who just needs to like think on something for a while. But with this one decision I was doing, it was like, there was multiple people involved, and it was like yes or no within 24 hours. And I usually don't make decisions like that. So saying yes, and then kind of having that, like, I guess you can call it like a little bit of a spiral of like, I wish I had more time before I said yes to this thing. And then, like you said, that like releasing and surrendering and trusting, that's what I had to start reminding myself of after. It's like, if I'm getting to the point of saying yes to this thing, then I have to trust and surrender and know that it's going to work out fine. But it's just, I think that initial making that decision when it came at a time when I didn't think I would have to make it, it just kind of like jumbled things up for me in my mind, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I love that you already like, this is so amazing. You already like tuned into all of that. You already were like thinking about this and like, probably, so you're just so self-aware, you know?
Well, that's the thing. And it's so funny because being self-aware is like a really powerful thing, but it could also be a detriment at times too, because you're so self-aware that you're like, you feel so much more towards things than other people probably do who aren't as self-aware. They'll just be like, oh, that thing just happened and it's whatever. But it's like, I'm so self-aware that I'm like, that thing happened. And now I sometimes go into like over analyzing mode where I have to really think about like, why did that happen? Is that how it's supposed to happen? And then that really leads into the whole like trust and surrendering to the universe thing, which I'm usually pretty good at. But sometimes, like anybody, you know, we're all human. We have our, you know, our pitfalls. And sometimes I can get into that space of I'm not trusting right now because I'm spiraling instead, right?
Yeah.
So like catching yourself in that pattern.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, part of what you're saying too, I think, is reflected in your 8th house. So if you can see, it doesn't like compared to, you know, the big themes of career actually, and your 7th house of marriage and, you know, long-term committed relationships and partnership and connection. It doesn't look like it has as much going on, but you've got Mercury in there, which is a pretty big one to have anywhere, because Mercury is like our conscious, what we're interested in and what we like to talk about and think about. But when you have yours in the 8th house, which I'm like, honestly, thank God you have this Sagittarius energy in there to kind of lighten it up, because Sagittarius is fun. It's optimistic. It's like, you know, it's adventurous. It's like wants to see the world. It's philosopher, you know, it's like, it's that energy. So thank God, because it does add that balance, but it also probably heightens the like speed because it's fiery, right? It's got all this speed and passion towards the mental energy. But when you've got that going towards the 8th house of death and rebirth and transformation, like you're somebody who is probably thinking, and it's ruled by Scorpio. So it's like this intensity, right? There's an intensity to your mind. There's an intensity to your thoughts, but it's also not just for yourself. You're probably somebody who can see 5 steps ahead of everybody you're interacting with. You can, you can't do surface. And so if you're like in surface level conversations or something, you're like, not, it's like, not that you're not present, but you're like, let's get to the good stuff because I can kind of see there's other things going on.
That's the Scorpio in me for sure, because it's all about death and rebirth, but also just like super deeply connecting with people. Those are like, that's me to a T.
Yes. And then your ascendant, your rising is in Aries. So it's like, you know, the truth of who you are is like, you not only got this passionate energy towards like the real depth of like, let's really talk about real stuff, you know, or maybe even like the occult or just like the shadowy side of life and just all that stuff. But then you match it with the truth. I mean, so you you are a Scorpio, but then the rising sign is this like this fiery Aries.
Yes.
Who, like, want to tell the world, you know, like you want to lead, you want to be like first. You have this like drive about you, you know. So it's like, it's also, there's like a level of patience that's required with that kind of energy that might be a little bit hard, and also might be something that is like bleeding into other areas of your life. So that could be a potential like theme for you, is just, and probably part of why you realized, oh, I have to pause and think through things before I make a decision. And why, like when that caused all that turmoil with having to move so quickly, is probably because you're so self-aware, right? With that Mercury in 8th house, that you're like, oh no, I know I'm going against myself. This isn't okay. And like, it can cause a freak out, but you've got this true self of yourself, you know, with this Aries. It's like, okay, but I want to let go. I want to, so it's like this constant, it must be exhausting.
It's like a pull and push. Yeah. And as long as, you know, things are planned in, you know, loosely enough, but in a way where I kind of know what's coming next. It's like sometimes the unexpected throws me off, right? And I have to like remind myself that like everything happens for a reason and everything's unfolding in perfect time, but my mind doesn't automatically trust that all the time in every situation. So I have to like remind myself and bring myself like back down to earth and ground myself a bit and remind myself that everything's unfolding as it should, but it doesn't always come as easily in certain situations.
For sure. And, you know, another thing I really want to talk about. So you have a very interesting placement. You've got your South Node actually right on your IC, and it's also in Cancer. Both are in Cancer. Now, your South. So we'll start with the South Node and North Node. So your South Node is like where you're comfy, right? It's like when life gets hard and pushes you towards your North Node, which is the uncomfy part. That is where we retreat to. That's where we want to go and like just be. and your life is pushing you to Capricorn North Node, but you're like a Cancer South Node. And so basically that's like the main thing that that's saying is like, to me at least, especially because you have it sitting directly on your IC line, which is like inner child kind of stuff. It's like,
Oh.
it's like it was our childhood, how we what philosophies we developed as we grew older, like what we took from our childhood. And to me, this is saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it says a little bit like what you learned growing up was like it's safer to be at home than safer to be in the world. And so sometimes being out front, sharing yourself can be scary. It can be it can feel intimidating. And so sometimes it can feel I was going to tie that to something. It was something we were just talking about, I think, with the 8th house communication, I think, was just around like sometimes because your life is wanting you to be this strong Capricorn, this leader, this highly accomplished person in your career specifically. But when we're like feeling like, I don't know, when there's so much going on mentally and there's so much fire and there's so much like things that you can see, sometimes it just feels too much. Sometimes our mind can just feel like there's too much. And so what can happen is you can retreat, and instead of focusing on your stuff and your goals, it can be easier to focus on everybody else around you and want to nurture everybody else. And like, just that's where you feel safest. So let me know if that makes sense so far.
I guess a little bit, like I'm trying to think of like childhood stuff. I know specifically in my childhood, there was a lot of feelings I had that I did not know how to process at that time. So I just like shut away and didn't think about it. So that's what's like coming to mind as you're explaining that, like maybe the focus on other things or other people or other situations, like whether it was like in high school when I had a job and I would just go from school to work and just like know that when I kept myself busy physically, that I didn't have to focus as much on the mental side of things. Like that was a lot of part of my coping mechanism when I was younger.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense then. So yeah, your life is just saying, and everybody's obviously like, it'll be different for your child, like your childhood. So pick what resonates. But more than anything, when we have a Cancer as our South Node and a Capricorn in our North Node, there is saying that it is going to be saying that we're going from like, our life is pushing us to be from like comfy and just like the nurturer and giving to everybody else to moving more towards this empowered, you could say hashtag boss babe, but like more empowered individual who gets to become more of the front person, of your life versus maybe, I don't know, when you were younger, like maybe you didn't feel like the star of the show. Maybe you didn't feel like you were the one that mattered. Maybe you felt like it was everybody else came first kind of thing, or like maybe you were the natural nurturer, especially because you've got some big placements that show like you're an old soul with your Saturn in Aquarius, and some pretty big transformation. Like with the Mercury in the 8th house. So it's like you were probably somebody that maybe had to be the voice of reason fairly young. Maybe that could have been a thing. But also I'm intrigued because, and we'll talk more about that as we talk about your career and stuff, because there's so much I want to get into there. But before we do, it's kind of interesting because before you can get to where your career is taking you, we've got to work through some of and that's what I think is coming up for you right now before you transition to your 34th year, is it's wanting you to like face some, if you haven't already, but I'm guessing you have because you're so self-aware and you do the work. But there's this Chiron in the 5th house and it's in Leo, which is cozy. Leo loves the 5th house. It's a ruler of the 5th house. So Chiron is the wounded healer. It's the wound that we came in with to heal. What I love about astrology is it's like, let's just tell you the thing instead of making you go search for it. Here's the wound you have to work on.
Okay. Cool.
So this is the thing is, I don't think we ever overcome our Chiron and our wound forever, but what happened or ever, like, I think we're always working on it because it's a part of our blueprint. But I think what happens is we can overcome it in such a powerful way. Like we get so much life experience with it to where we go from feeling like we have to overcome it to we kind of become a mastery of understanding its place in our life and how to work with it. And so through that, you can then help other people navigate that thing. And that's why I think you personally, I think life is asking you to look at some of these things, or you're feeling called to do a session like this, because I think you are starting to move into that next chapter where your career is about to really move in the way that you want, and start moving in that direction, because you've got Saturn sitting there, which is delaying. It's the delayer of gratification. It's the we got to make you really embodied before you can teach, before you can, really like go where you want to go in life. So part of that, like coming into that next chapter for yourself is, let's talk about the Chiron in the 5th house. So the 5th house is about play. It's about pleasure. It's about sex. It's about dating. It's about children. It's like, it's the fun house. It's the romance house. It's you could call it a love house too, but and you have your wound sitting there. So the wound, like a wound in Leo, is pretty much like about being seen. There's like something, if you haven't navigated this yet or played with this yet, I'm going to guess you have, because you talk about actually a lot of your content. I notice you do like have this lighthearted, like, I just want to play and be in nature and like really surrender, And so it sounds like you've kind of gravitated towards what's actually going to help heal this wound already. But yeah, it's like the sense of maybe not really being appreciated for who you truly are. Maybe feeling like you're misunderstood in some way, or just, maybe faced a lot of criticism for your talents, and just like, it's kind of one of those energies where it's like, you felt so excited, and maybe there's this naive energy when you're little, and you're like, look at me, like, look at all my talents. And then somebody didn't, or somebody like shut it down, or somebody like, it doesn't have to be when you were little. But it is part of the lower houses, so it tends to be like earlier in life, or like the building blocks of you before you get out into the world with the other houses. So it just says that there's a little bit of maybe a wounding or something there in the being seen area, which could affect how you show up in what you're wanting to do with your YouTube channel and your brand and your content. So I'll stop there, because what I love is like also your Mercury in 8th house. I'm like, she's such a great listener. Like, she's gonna like be like such a great listener. So if you have any questions so far on any of this, or something that's coming up, please let me know.
Yeah, I think the fear of being seen, I think, is something that's been something I've had to face a lot over the last few years. Well, pretty much ever since I started this platform, like Living My 2.0, I started it on on Instagram. And I had to really face a lot in the beginning of like the fear of being seen, because I was, sharing my story. I was sharing how I struggled with anxiety and all those things, and trying to, establish myself as the leader and guide to help people who have anxiety. And then at some point, like over the last couple of years, I kind of stopped resonating with that path that I was on of being like the life coach for anxiety, being the anxiety coach. And then I kind of went through this lull of like, I don't know who I am or how I have to show up on this platform, because I don't know like what the purpose is right now. And then it was only really within the last few months that I started reviving my YouTube channel and making it what it is now. And it came from I am kind of tying this and relating this to the fear of being seen, because I think before, any content I was making, whether it was on Instagram or YouTube, was all about showing up as the professional and like, who am I when I make content? And then I spoke with a really intuitive friend, and she had said to me, why don't you just, make YouTube videos about stuff that makes you happy and stuff that interests you, and like, don't make yourself have this title of like what you are. Like, you don't have to be a life coach, or you don't have to be whatever it is, and just be you. And that was like a huge light bulb moment for me, that I had never thought about that. And it kind of seems crazy. I'm like, why can't I just be someone who just makes a video that lights me up, and like that the byproduct of doing that is going to inspire other people and reach other people or do whatever it's supposed to do. But I don't have to give myself this really rigid title and put myself in this box of I can only make content about these certain things, which is, you know, I've been following that path now for I guess the last few months, like, and ever since I chose to just be myself on YouTube, I've been like consistently having video ideas like every single week. And before I struggled with that, I didn't know what to create. And it felt like a challenge. And now I know that before the end of every single weekend, I'm going to have another idea that comes up that like sustains my passion and like what I'm doing right now. And that's been really, really cool. And that's, yeah, just been a recent thing within the last couple months that I've been doing. And I'm like, this is so cool. And that was the, you know, catalyst for this idea too, is like, wouldn't it be so cool to do a video about astrology? Because that's something that I want to learn more about, that I think a lot of people would find interesting as well. And it gives me the chance to collaborate with you, which I love collaborating with you and other people too, and, you know, making those connections. So yeah, it's only really been the last couple months that I've been, you know, really focusing on not worrying about like the title or how I am perceived by other people and just showing up being me. And I think that's what's given me, you know, the permission slip to just be myself. And I think that kind of ties into the fear of being seen too, because I haven't felt that fear of being seen over the last couple months while I've been on this train of just like all these ideas coming up and following them and just doing them because they're fun. And it's like kind of stripped away that any sort of fear about like being seen, because I'm just being me, you know?
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And I literally like I want to hug that friend who gave you that advice, because that's everything that anybody needs to hear. Like that's so beautiful, but also like without even knowing your chart, like that is literally how you heal that wounding. That I hate to tell people like you have a wound, but like Chiron in your chart, the wound of the chart, you know, that is it also how you heal that, because fifth house is also about creativity. And putting our creative pursuits into the world. And it doesn't have to, yes, for you, it ties to your career, which makes sense with your Saturn in Aquarius, but also you like just the idea of creating to create. You are somebody, especially again, the Saturn in Aquarius, you cannot be in a box. You will eventually blow up that box because you're like, I can't be in this box. So it's like, even if you had tried to label yourself to make it make sense for others or even for yourself, like you wouldn't have been happy. There wouldn't have been a fulfillment piece there. And there would have been a lingering probably question of, do people like me, you know, because you weren't serving yourself. And even though you're here to serve, you know, humanity in a bigger way, you have this potential for serving, you know, in a much bigger way than just yourself. It's not about you, but you are the vessel that this comes through. So, you know, it's like your energy has to feel good to you and clean and exciting, and you have to want to do the work to stay consistent with it. So beautiful, so beautiful. So the one I've been waiting for, but also before I get there, because I feel like I'm just going to go on about the 10th and 11th house, but there's one thing I want to share with you too. This was a similar placement to myself, other than my sign is different in the 7th house, but your 7th house. So your sun sits there, and something to know about your sun. And the 7th house is all about partnerships, marriage, our, you know, long-term relationships. It's, you know, your sun sitting there is, so I like to say the sun is a focus. So fun thing to know is like when you're looking at transits, wherever the sun is, it's kind of like that's where like a big focus of your life is at that time. And so the sun for you is like living in the 7th house. It's like, that's also saying that relationships, like long-term partners and your closest, you know, the people that you're in intimate relationships with, those are serving as your biggest mirror to your own personal growth. So wherever the sun sits, that's going to be your biggest mirror, where you personally grow the most through, where you evolve the most. So I wouldn't be surprised, especially with Pluto chilling there, which is all about transformation. You've got Scorpio chilling in the 7th house. So it's like, you probably had some hard relationship lessons, hard relationships. I wouldn't be surprised. But you know, if you've been able to look at them and say, okay, what has this taught me? Then they serve their purpose, which I'm assuming you did.
Yes. Yeah. I'd say that's been going on for the last probably birth year, right? Like from last November to probably like right up until now. So that's been, there's been some personal learnings there for sure for me.
Yeah. Well, and then you've got your Mars in there too, which is that fiery, passionate energy. So that made you like your rising sign is probably just like, wanting to just like, it wouldn't be surprised if there's some tension, some like power struggles, some just like needing to like that control thing. Or you might even attract partners that are kind of like that too. It just depends. But yeah, that's just a lot of intense energy to have in your 7th house. A lot of big transformational experiences, more than maybe most who don't have these placements in their 7th house. So I didn't want to skip over that, but that wasn't like the focus I wanted to bring, unless you had questions about relationships.
Yeah, not too much. I feel like the relationship stuff has been pretty transparent for me to sort of work through over the last year. So yeah, too many questions about that, because I just feel like I've already kind of extracted a lot of lessons and done a lot of things there. So
perfect. So yeah, so let's get into these top 3, the 9th, 10th, 11th house. So this is just it's just saying immediately when I see Saturn in the 10th house, it's like, okay, you are gonna have your biggest transfer or biggest life lessons through the 10th house, because it's constant. The lessons are probably constant in the sense that if you don't learn them, like you're going to have to face them again, and they're going to get louder and louder. And then on top of that, the 10th house is more of that like public persona. So it wouldn't surprise me if your biggest life lessons around career, or just around the Aquarius component that we'll talk about, is like everybody can see it, or it's been outward. And so there's been an element of feeling judged in the process while you're evolving and growing. And it's like, I just want to keep this stuff internal, but like, why is it like on a stage? Like my growth and my lessons feel like they're on a stage, and it's like, that's why. And so, yeah. And then we come to, and so also, with Saturn and Aquarius, it's also a very like, it's rebellious. It's like you're here to do things different. It's probably feeling like a bit of an outsider. Feeling very like just you don't fit in, or like maybe outwardly watching like groups, feeling like you're not part of the group. But then if you get the invitation, you're such, individualism is so strong with Saturn and Aquarius especially, that it's like, even if you got the invite, you're like, actually I'm good. Like I kind of like want to be more like by myself, but it's more like you just want the invite to feel included and feel thought of, versus like needing to actually go and be part of that group, if that makes sense. So it's a very conflicting energy. But it's also, so Saturn, even though it challenges and restricts everything it touches, which creates delayed gratification, which is why it makes sense that maybe your career specifically has felt like you've just until now really didn't know what you wanted to do. Maybe you felt like it was so hard to choose, or you felt like, okay, I'm like gung-ho in one direction, and then you're like, nope, actually I'm like gung-ho in this direction. And then it changes because it's also ruled by Uranus, which Uranus is insane. Uranus is the craziest planet ever, because it's there to like rebel and change and mess up the status quo. And it's so individual, and it wants to change the planet, and it does, but it does it in such a sporadic, there's so many quick changes that it's like, and that's energy sitting in your 9th house. So that's more of like, you're just like, that's a little bit different than, the energy of the 10th house, but it is that energy is also in your 10th house at the same time of career. So it's just saying that your career was not meant to really take off and be what it is until like now onward. It's like, this is all by design. So if you felt like, oh, it's been slow, or like, why am I not there yet? That's why.
Yeah.
And also because so Saturn in Aquarius in my eyes is like an old soul. It's like, you've been here a million times. You like, like you're comfortable with the death and rebirth, the transformation, the deep stuff, that's like, you're like comfy there. Yeah. And so what that's saying is part of the delay of getting where you want to go in your career is because like, it's a humanitarian kind of energy, right? It's like you're meant to serve in a bigger way with your work specifically. And so that's not something you get to soon in life. right? Like, that's not like I made it there in my 20s because, because you're like supposed to go through the mud a bit. You're supposed to
Yeah.
go through things so that you can embody them because you're a teacher. You're a
Yes.
teacher, so you're here to really teach what you know through embodiment because you're meant to hold people, and that's a responsibility. And life is not going to just like your chart is just not going to let you have that yet until you've refined. It doesn't, and again, with all these, like, this is stuff we work on our whole life. So it doesn't mean that you have to have mastered the lesson of Saturn, aka the father, in your chart. Like, it doesn't mean you have to have mastered that 100% before you can experience that success in your life, but it's saying that it's going to be delayed and it wants to refine you quite a bit before it will allow you the rewards. And what can speed that up is if you're tuned into what is Saturn teaching me, what is Saturn asking me to do. And I think Saturn in Aquarius, especially because it's sitting really closely to your Lilith, around this idea of like being enough, and like acceptance, I think it's like asking you to work on you being the one, and I'm sure you've already been doing this, but in order for that to speed up a little bit, it's like you really working on being the one who's enough in your life and not needing that outward approval, because you didn't come here for outward approval. Saturn in Aquarius and all this energy towards your 10th house and your MC in Capricorn, like, you did not come here to be somebody that is part of the status quo, one of the regular sheep. Like, you came to stand out, honestly. Yeah. So it's a journey to not only do that, but to feel comfortable with that, especially when your North Node, the thing that you are here to learn and master, is in your 10th house, your Capricorn. Like, that's going to take some time for that to feel like you're in more mastery of it. When it's going to take a second to feel like, okay, like, I do feel empowered in who I am. Like, one of the whole main purposes you're here is to learn to go from nurturing everybody else to individual, accomplish, successful. So it's inevitable you are going to be. And in a probably a big way because of the Aquarius, chilling with the Saturn right there. Like, it's going to be like, I feel like what you're doing with your channel is so on point. It's like helping the masses with these deeper conversations, is like so a part of your design, your blueprint. So before I get into the next thing, do you have any questions?
I don't think I have any questions. I just think it's all making a lot of sense. I know the last year, like I said, from like pretty much from my last birthday up until now, a huge theme has been to the fear of like, or not the fear, but just like the feeling of not being enough. That was like a huge theme, a huge belief that I worked through specifically over the last, like, I'd say like 8 or 9 months. And I've made so much progress in that. And I feel like I did get to the point, and I feel like that's why the whole change in my YouTube channel kind of came up as well, because that, I don't think that could have shown up for me until I did a lot of work on that fear and like that feeling of not being enough. Like, once I stepped into like, I am enough, that's when like the whole clarity around my content and what I want to be putting out there came from that. So that's like definitely a huge theme that's been a part of my last year for sure.
Amazing. That's amazing. See, like, I just love that you do the work and you're so tuned in. And it's like, that's also makes sense why this stuff is coming in now, because like with Saturn, it's like, for some people, it's like they're going to hit all these things, but maybe in their 40s or 50s, or, and it's like not bad. That's not a bad, there's no good or bad. It's just like, how quickly do you want to move through some things, or, by being like, how self-aware do you want to be? How much are you willing to face all of this stuff? So I just want to commend you. You're really doing the work and moving your life forward. But again, there's no rush, but it feels exciting. Like, the energy around all this for you, it just feels exciting. And I'm stoked for you too, because you've got your Neptune in your 10th house, and Neptune is associated with Pisces. It's very dreamy. It's like kind of can be this like escapism, where we're like, we really like constantly thinking about what we want, this area of our life to be. So it's like you have a big dream and it's sitting in your 10th house career, so it's like you have these big dreams and this vision for where your career is going to go. So it's exciting. And to see it starting for you, it's like probably starting to feel like it's landing. So that's everything. And what it's saying is that sometimes with Neptune, this dreamy kind of state that we have about, for you specifically career, sometimes we can get lost in that. We can get lost in the vision. We can get so excited. This is where we get really excited about things like manifesting, which beautiful because you want to have this dreamy state around these things because you got to create the vision. But what this is saying is that for you, it's always going to be really important to have a balance of being dreamy and being up in the clouds and like really like being the visionary and having fun there, but also grounding it in. When you have North Node in Capricorn and just like career in Capricorn, it's always going to take a little bit more. It's annoying. This is why Capricorn is kind of annoying because it's like it's inevitable that you're going to get there, but it's going to take probably a little bit more efforting to make it happen. So it's like really balancing the vision, the dreamy vision, and the grounded, your grounded practices and actually taking action towards the steps that you're getting. And that's why it's like, you can't get it wrong. It's like, if you get these ideas for you, if you're not doing this already, it's like, as soon as you can, like do some small action to honor that dreamy vision that you had, because that will keep it grounded and keep it moving forward. Because with a Capricorn North Node and stuff, it's like and in your 10th house, like, it's such a nice place for it to be. That's like where we want the Capricorn to be in the chart. So it's like you've got a lot of energy really working with you in that way. So it's like you're going to get there. You're going to experience that success. And so I'm just thrilled for you. But with Capricorn, it can feel like sometimes, you take a step forward and then you take a step back. You take 2 steps forward, you take a step back. It's like, it can feel like this, like, so Capricorn is just asking us to put a lot of, energy and efforting, maybe more than we want to sometimes, especially when you've got that comfy Cancer chilling in your South Node. It's like, do I really need to like keep showing up? But it's like, I think for you, as long as you're making it fun, like all the revelations you just shared earlier, right? It's like, as long as your work is fun and it makes you feel alive, then you're going to be able to be consistent and show up for yourself and your chart and your business and your dreams and make them real.
Right.
So I was just like, this is so, what a fun like grouping at the same time. I know it's a lot of intense energy, so it doesn't surprise me that a career is like you being an entrepreneur is like such a focus and trying to figure it out, because rightfully so. There's a lot of mixed energies in there. We've got Saturn challenging you. We've got your Lilith being like your deepest vulnerabilities chilling in there. And then we've got your dreamy self who's like, well, let's just do it all. And then we've got your North Node, which is like, you've never mastered that ever. So it's like, okay, we're going to dream it and we're going to try. We're going to try our best, but like, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. So all that to say, also be kind to yourself, like give yourself grace. And maybe, for your 9th house, we've got your crazy Uranus in there, which just says also like, so 9th house is about, it's like travel and it's about philosophy and it's about researching and learning. And basically it's like, what are we doing with all the transformation that we've just learned in the 8th house? It's like, what do we want to do with all of that? And so maybe for you, if you ever feel really overwhelmed about this, you might do really well. It's like taking a solo trip. I think for you, like you're going to probably, with this placement, you might get the most out of taking yourself on like a long distance trip. 9th house is about long distance travel. So maybe like an international something, or you could plan something like that, for yourself in the like near future, to just kind of like celebrate yourself or to decompress or something. But I think for you, solo is like where you probably feel the most like fulfilled in that.
That's so funny that you're saying that, because I've had this idea in my head for the last couple months that I just want to, and I didn't tell myself it has to be somewhere really far, but I just had this like feeling like I want to do kind of like this solo like self-care weekend away or something, like just booking like a really beautiful like Airbnb or something and just going by myself and just letting myself be and just do whatever I want, whether it's like meditating or like dancing around to some music and just like being with myself, because I've never taken a solo trip before. I've always been like, I've been in a relationship now for like, I've been with my partner for, we just had our 17-year anniversary. We've always traveled together, or I've traveled with family. And it's like, I've never actually done a solo trip. And I just had this like download recently where I'm like, wouldn't it be so cool to just go somewhere by myself and just like be by myself, and just whatever happens, like if I feel inspired to like do photography or film something, I'll just do it, but like not give myself any sort of assignment, just to and just do it, like, you know. So that's definitely been like on my to-do list for sure.
Oh my God. This is when life is so fun, because it's so full of synchronicities. And you know, you had the nudge on your heart. So it's like, follow your excitement. That was actually something I wrote for you when I was doing this planning, was like, follow your excitement. Seems like the theme of your life is like, what's going to create the most success for you is like just following your excitement when you get those nudges. And that's coming in right from you being tuned in, but also slowing down and not letting your Aries fiery self, like, you know, kind of take the charge and make you impatient and like move you too fast. You know, have that fiery energy, but use it in other ways that are going to help you, you know, like, wherever, like, what I love about Aries is you can really allow yourself to intentionally decide, like, because that's your true self. So you're really connected to that fiery, passionate energy. So it's like, leverage it in the ways that are going to most help you, and learn to tone it down when you're in these places of wanting to, like really connect with yourself and figure out like what's best for you. I'm kind of rambling, but no, I just love that you already were feeling tuned into that, and you're honoring that, and like allow yourself that gift.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's been so cool, this reading in general, just because I kind of filmed a little sequence before this just on my own of like what I do know about astrology. And I really only knew like my big three. That's like my only reference point of like what I know about my chart. And I just feel like a lot of the things we've touched on, I can like see where those different parts of me are showing up, right? Like when we talked about certain things, I'm like, that's the Scorpio side of me. And then like, that's the Aries rising part. And then that's the Aquarius moon, like the feeling like you don't belong, like you're the black sheep. It's like all those things are kind of like tying in together with all of these placements that we've been talking about here. So it's been so cool just to learn more and to like go deeper into all of this.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And you know, I think one of my favorite parts about all this is like, it just helps you fall in love with yourself, because you like, you know, you get to understand yourself in a deeper way. So it's just it's really beautiful, and I love that you did that. I have a couple more things for you. So to finish off the birth chart, and then I wanted to show you a couple transits. So your moon is in your 11th house. So like you said, Aquarius, and 11th house is all about, it's like friendships, networking, humanitarian efforts. It's like, you know, how do we want to be of service? And so it's like thinking more than just ourselves, like we were talking about earlier. And so with your moon there, so the moon is a lesson of the mother. It's like what she has to teach us. And I like to say that the moon is all about like the biggest, like she really wants, you know, moms like ideally want you to be at your best. So it's just like helping to remind you, like, to nurture. So with it in the 11th house, it's a lot of, and the moon dictates our emotions and our decision making. And so when you have a moon in the 11th, it's like just being probably a big nurturer towards friends, you know, and nurturer towards like everybody else. And just like, but it's a lot of emotions, just like the moon kind of wanes and waxes and gibbous and whatever. It's like, so can the emotions of wherever the moon sits. So for you with the moon sitting in your 11th house, it's like, there's probably been a lot of like emotions with friendships. I wouldn't be surprised, especially with Aquarius, like maybe you haven't really felt like you fit in with friends a lot, or maybe you've like tried, you know, you really care and nurture, but maybe it hasn't always, you know, been reciprocated. So that also just leans into the idea of just, you know, really allowing yourself to know that regardless of all that, you are enough. You just came in with this completely different energy that so many people, like, they just can't even connect to, because it's kind of sitting in a whole different vibration. Aquarius is like, you really came here to change the world because you've experienced the world so many lifetimes that you're like, okay, like let's just do this different finally. And you're actually going to change it. Like Capricorn is like kind of reminds me of Capricorn in a way where it's like so gung ho. It's like this person who like has all this like ability and desire to like accomplish, but like Capricorn sometimes will be like, oh, I really wish things would be different, and they'll just like, but I guess it's fine. I'll just keep working. I'll just keep working. I'll just keep working. And Aquarius is like, F this. Like, actually, let's do it different, And so sometimes that energy can be hard for people to relate to or accept, or even be capable of understanding because it's so outside of their realm, So just wanted to share that if there's ever been a part of you that feels like, like friendships have been a little bit funky, like, but at the same time, you've like craved them, you've been you nurture people, you really care about the people in your world, but you haven't maybe always gotten it back or whatever. That's probably why that Aquarius energy in there.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like I'm the type of person who I have a very small friend group, but the people who I do have friendships with, it's like, we're like this. We're like so close. You know what I mean? Like we relate to each other in a way that you can't relate to every single person in your life that deeply, because that would be so much like too much to nurture if you related on a deep soul level to every single friend and you had this huge group. So I don't have a lot of friends, but the ones that I do, it's like we have like this like soul connection and we get each other on this level that's very deep. So yeah, I've totally accepted the fact that that's just the type of person I am. Like I have to have very deep friendships, and with that I don't need to have tons of people, and I don't need to be at a bunch of parties with all these people, because it's actually like overwhelming for me, actually, because that part of me that's like the Scorpio that wants to be deep and deeply connected and deep conversations, I can't do that with just everybody, right? It's about like, I think it's like an energy capacity thing. It's like I only have so much energy to have like really strong, good friendships. So I accept that I'm just someone who has a smaller friendship group, and I totally love that, and it works for me. So
yes, and I'm guessing you probably had to go through some trials and errors to like get to that total, just like, this is how I operate with friendships now,
yeah.
So that's so beautiful. And yeah, your Mercury in 8th house seriously like will not allow surface level. Like it just won't. Like
Yeah, it makes
like you are allergic to surface level. Like I think you would implode.
Yeah.
So really quickly, let me just go through maybe a transit chart. Oh, hold on. I'm going to try to present something else. Oh, there we go. Present something else. Transit chart. Okay. Let me know if you can see this.
Yeah, I can.
So it's basically just, so we've got the blue is your chart, your birth chart, and then the orange is just the planets, how they're moving around your chart at this time. And it's, so I put it for today, but it's also, we could pick any day that we would want, but just so you have an idea. And a lot of the planets are they're all the planets, but like a lot of them move pretty slow. So, I feel like they're fairly consistent for at least a little while. So this is a kind of nice to look at. So for you right now, it's showing, for example, your sun is showing that it's in your 6th house, which is interesting. So that's like your focus at this time. And it's interesting, and also potentially one of your mirrors right now. So actually that tracks because it's in the 6th house of health and wellness and mental health and all these things. And we're in Virgo season. So it's like, you're probably feeling Virgo season more like pretty intensely, maybe compared to other people, because that's where your sun is right now, your focus. So it makes sense that the health stuff just kind of started coming in, and you're feeling a little like, wow, I guess I really got to like take a look at this and like do all these non-fun things to like take care of the foundation. But that's the season of Virgo anyways. And so it's just like really not letting you get away with it.
There you go.
So there's that. Let's see, but then also you've got your Mars cruising through there. And so that's like fiery energy too. It's like very action oriented. So there was no way you weren't even gonna like your desires would be like, let's take action on this. Like you're not gonna sit on it. It's like, we're gonna do it now. So that makes sense. Let's see, your Saturn is chilling in your house, your 12th house. So the Saturn, the planet of challenges and restrictions and stuff, and that's going to maybe bring some challenges to work through, is in your 12th house of the subconscious. It's really like I like to say it's like the piece that, now we've just gone around the whole chart. So now that we're in the 12th house, it's like we're kind of going through and just really reflecting and being like, what serves me and what doesn't serve me. And we're kind of like cleaning house before we step into our first house of really claiming our identity and who we want to be in the world and going through our 12-year cycle again. So it's, you might have some challenges around your rebirth, you're coming into like, just there's just like a lot of reflection point. And I think it's like this time, if you're not going to sit there and reflect and think about stuff, which you are doing, but it's like, if you don't, then chances are Saturn is going to give you some hard lessons around identity. And that can show up in many ways, but especially online persona. You've got that Capricorn in the 10th house. So, like getting this opportunity to reflect in the shadows a little bit is probably kind of nice. So just honoring that. And the reason we care about transits is because that's the flow of energy. So if we just like kind of focus and we understand these things, then it's like we're kind of going in flow and harmony with the way the energy is moving anyways, versus creating like blocks or restrictions or trying to swim upstream kind of thing. So that's why I bring this up. I'm just picking random ones. I'm like, what else is going on? You have, so interesting, your Uranus, again, that crazy planet who's like passionate and individual and wants to change everything and is just like insane, is in your second house of values. And it's just starting out in your house, and it's going to be there for a minute because it's a slower moving planet. So there could be some quick changes, could be exciting, could be some new innovations around the things that you value. Could be money, could be possessions. Sometimes it could be like food. It could be just like beautiful things. Venus is also part of the second house. So it could be, like really like, some quick changes and fast things around your second house and what you value in the world. So that's kind of interesting, but it's also your Gemini is there too. So maybe it's like, maybe it could be some innovations in the way that you, because you value a lot, right? Obviously that's saying you value communication, you value the way you connect with people. So maybe there's going to be some rapid, quick changes with your channel. So maybe maybe you'll get some new inspired ideas for how you want to, how you actually want to create content or what kinds of content you want to make. So I wouldn't be surprised if you get a lot of like feeling like gung-ho and then gung-ho over here. And then you're like, maybe as the ideas come in, because it's all mental energy, maybe as those ideas come in the next like month or so or a couple months, I would just really like write them down and see like how you feel about all of them versus feeling swept up and overwhelmed by all those coming in, just like really grounding yourself as they come in as best you can.
Yeah.
So know that's like moving in for you. I'm thinking like maybe like, is there any ones you have a question about, or I can just pick another random one for you.
No, you just keep going with what you're doing.
I like so you're interesting. Your your Jupiter is in your 4th house. And so that's exciting. 'Cause it looks like family or like your roots or just like your, it's like your family and your roots, but it's also the foundation of who you are. Looks like it's got this Jupiter expansion energy also, which I think is really beautiful because that's supporting your authenticity. That's supporting the ways you really see the world, like being supported at this time. So if that doesn't say lean into trusting yourself and you're safe to move, I don't know what does. You're safe to like really expand or be who you want to be because your roots are really expanded and strong. Is how I see that.
I love that like metaphor of like a tree and the roots. I love that. I just immediately saw that in my head.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's a good way to remember it. Love that. You have your moon, which your moon, it moves so quick. It's, it's changing every day, and it's by the end of the month, it's, moved on. So, the moon for you is in your 8th house, which is transformation, death, and rebirth. So, there could just be some, just like a lot of emotions, or just, I would say probably just a lot of different emotions around transformation, which tracks. So I'm going to guess like this next month, probably the rest of the year, especially we're in a 9-year, probably is just a lot of similar energy of just like really getting clear on who you're becoming, really also letting whatever, like if it's in the 8th house of transformation, rebirth, and stuff, that's saying that there's and it's mental energy flowing through there. It's probably saying that there's going to be a lot of stuff coming to the surface, and so just like don't get too attached to the stuff that's coming up. Just allow it to come up, to come out.
Yes.
Right. And like, don't ride the ebbs and flows that the moon wants to do around transformation. Don't ride it so hard, because you'll probably feel like each transformation, it might be a little more intense for you than maybe others. But just know that and get ahead of it and be like, okay, so this month, like, how can I how can I really ground? But it looks like your grounding energy is supported anyways. So now it's just sounding like contradictory, but just like really tuning in to what you need, I think is going to be the theme. It's like, who am I becoming? What matters most to me? How do I want to serve? What's fun? And what allows me to follow my biggest and highest excitement? And I think you'll be on your path, which we already are.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I love that.
Yay. Well, this was really fun. I really enjoyed doing this with you.
Yeah, thanks so much for doing this. It's been really informative and really cool, honestly, just to learn so much more about my chart and get a better understanding. It's just been, super cool. So thank you so much. I feel like this has been such a lovely gift that you've given me today.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. I'm so grateful too. This was honestly just like fun for me to like nerd out on this stuff.
Yeah, totally. And you're amazing at this.